been a minute, but here I am. Welcome to my channel. If this is your first time, welcome back if you've been before. Lovely to have you either way. On this channel we talk books. What we usually do, it's been a minute. I've been taking a bit of a hiatus from filming because the thought of filming anything has just sort of filled me with anxiety and dread. And I woke up this morning and my hair looked really nice because I washed it yesterday, and it sort of, I put it up in a bun. I thought it was dry, but maybe it wasn't 100% dry. But when I took it down this morning, I was like, ooh, I've got little curls that have like come out looking beautifully wavy. And I was like, I should film today. So here I am. And we're going to film a book haul, and I believe this book haul is from February, if I'm not mistaken, because I've got two other piles. I've got a March pile and an ongoing April pile, because we're now in April. And these have been sitting on my desk where I do all the things for months, waiting to be filmed. So here we go, let's do it. I'm a bit rusty, but that's okay. We're just gonna power through, and probably keep this brief. I'm not gonna talk too much about the books, I guess, but we'll see what happens as I get started. So I'm gonna start with the new books. These are books that I bought brand new. There's not that many of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the rest of the haul is all second-hand books. So first of all, The Frozen River by Ariel Lawhon. I read Name Helene by this same author a while back, and I loved it. It's a 5-star book for me. So that was why I picked this one up, and I've also heard good things. So this is all about, so it's a historical mystery based on the life and diary of renowned midwife Martha Ballard. So it's set in Maine in 1789. A man is found entombed in the frozen Kennebec River, and Martha Ballard is summoned to examine the body and determine cause of death. As the local midwife and healer, Martha is good at keeping secrets. Her diary is a record of every birth, death and debacle that unfolds in the town of Hallowell. In that diary, she has also documented the details of an alleged rape committed by one of the town's most esteemed gentlemen, the same man who has now been found dead in the ice. So this sounds like a really interesting mystery, and like I trust Ariel Lawhon and her writing to do that story justice. So excited about that. Another book I'm very excited about is The Spellshop by Beth Durst. Listen, this is the kind of book that my brain tells me that I want to be a reader of. But if you look at the types of books that I actually read, I don't read a heck of a lot of fantasy. But I wanna be the kind of person that reads this book. So I'm gonna read it at some point. I probably don't even need to tell you about this because it's been everywhere. But it says, a faraway island, a secret spell shop, an unexpected romance. Kiela has always had trouble dealing with people, and as librarian at the Great Library of Elysium, she hasn't had to. That sounds like a lovely life. She and her assistant Kaz, a sentient spider plant, have spent the last 11 years sequestered among the Empire's precious spell books. But when the library goes up in flames, Kiela and Kaz have to flee to the faraway island where she grew up. To Kiela's dismay, and in addition to a nosy and very handsome neighbour, she finds the Empire has been draining power from the island. Kiela is determined to make things right, but opening up her own secret spell shop comes with its own risks. The consequence of sharing magic with others is death, and as Kiela starts to make a place for herself, she realises she must break down the walls she has kept so high. So, I mean, it sounds whimsical. There's nothing more to that sentence. It sounds whimsical. Another book that I've picked up is this one, The Ghosts of Rose Hill. I believe this is YA. A thing I don't like about this cover is it's the kind of one that picks up your fingerprint. I don't know if you can see that. Ew. I don't like it. I don't like it. The cover itself is beautiful. It's got lovely gold foil, but it's one of those... yuck. Okay, so anyway, this book says, Magic will burn you up. Sent to stay with her aunt in Prague and witness the humble life of an artist, Ilana Lopez, a biracial Jewish girl, finds herself torn between her dream of becoming a violinist and her immigrant parents' desire for her to pursue a more stable career. When she discovers a forgotten Jewish cemetery behind her aunt's cottage, she meets the ghost of a kind-hearted boy named Benjamin who died over a century ago. As Ilana restores Benjamin's grave, he introduces her to the enchanted side of Prague, where ghosts walk the streets and their kisses have warmth. Benjamin isn't the only one interested in Ilana, though. Rudolf Wasserman, a man with no shadow, has become fascinated with her and the music she plays. He offers to share his magic so Ilana can be with Benjamin and pursue her passion for violin. But after Ilana discovers the truth about Wasserman and how Benjamin became bound to the city, she resolves to save the boy she loves, even if success means losing him forever. So this is, it says Peachtree Teen. So I'm guessing that means this is YA. I don't know if I'm going to like this or not, but we'll give it a go and see what happens. I picked up a poetry collection by the internet's own Jen Campbell. It's called Please Do Not Touch This Exhibit. It's a very thin little volume, so it shouldn't take too long to read. And I believe it is to do with, so on the back it says, Please Do Not Touch This Exhibit explores disability, storytelling, and the process of mythologizing trauma. So yeah, I'm excited to read this collection. And yeah, sorry, I'm just trying to hold it in such a way that the lights aren't there. The lights aren't bouncing off it. But yes, I'm excited to read this collection by Jen Campbell. And the last of the new books that I've picked up is this one. Again, shiny, so shiny. The English Understand Wool by Helen Dewitt. And this is, again, also quite short. It's quite a short little volume, but it's hardback. And I can't remember where I heard about this, but I'm excited to read it. It says, a modern amorality drama about a 17-year-old girl, the wilder shores of connoisseurship, and the power of false friends. So yeah, this is about a girl who is raised in Marrakesh by a French mother and English father. She has learned above all to avoid, I don't know how to say this in French, mauvais ton, bad taste. Loses something in translation, it says. One should not ask servants to wait on one during Ramadan. They must have paid leave while one spends the holy month abroad. One should cultivate weavers of tweed in the Outer Hebrides, but have the cloth made up in London. One should buy linen in Ireland, but have it made up by a Thai seamstress in Paris. All this and much more she has learned, governed by a parent of ferociously lofty standards. But at 17, during the annual Ramadan travels, she finds all assumptions overturned. Will she be able to fend for herself? Will the dictates of good taste suffice when she must deal single-handedly with the publishing sharks of New York? So, sounds really interesting. Okay, let's move on to the second-hand portion of the video. I'm getting into the groove. I think this is going to be okay. So I have, actually, first of all, I'm going to have a little sip of tea. So let me just get the tea bag out, because I'm using my fish mug today, which I really like. So I've just gotten back from a trip to Kiama, which is south of Sydney, about 2 hours drive. And when I go on driving trips, obviously if I'm flying I wouldn't do this, but if I'm driving somewhere and I've got the space and looking after my own luggage, I bring one mug with me, because you can never guarantee what the mugs are going to be like in a place when you go to stay there. And this fish mug was the one that I took with me. For some reason, it's just the one that I want to be using right now. That's good tea. So let's move on. The second-hand portion now of this video. So I'm going to start with the non-fiction books, because while I've been waiting to get myself into the space to do this filming, I did go ahead and do my little thing. I don't know if you've been around for a while, you might remember, not last year, but the year before that. So in 2023, I did a big non-fiction challenge, and I started that off by categorizing all of the non-fiction in my collection and then putting it in Dewey decimal order. And the way that I did that was I just got a little bit of washi tape and wrote the number on the Dewey number. So while I've been waiting to film, I was like, I'm just gonna pull out the non-fiction and I'm gonna Deweyfy it. So I have done that. So I haven't been doing this for the last year, but I'm going to tell you what the the Dewey number is, just out of interest. So I'm going to start with this one. This is H is for Hawk by Helen Macdonald. I've heard a lot about this book, and it's sort of been kind of calling to me, I guess. But so I found this secondhand copy of it. So the call number for this one is 598.944. And basically this is about a woman, this is not, again, non-fiction, who was determined to become a falconer. And she learnt all about it. And then when her father dies, many years later, after doing all of this like research about it, she became obsessed with the idea of training her own goshawk. So she bought one, and then this is like the story of training this hawk. So I'm excited to read that at some point, because I just think it will be a really interesting kind of introspective story about like her grief, but also about like the kind of like logistics of training a bird of prey, which I think is really interesting. Another non-fiction book I picked up is Who Gets to Be Smart by Bree Lee. She's an Australian author, I think. Yes, a best-selling author of Eggshell Skull. But this one is all about sort of the, like, what happens when, basically it's looking at like patriarchy and colonial kind of headspace, and like what that means for, you know, because we kind of think of the idea of intelligence as being like, you know, a sort of a fixed thing, and that everyone can develop, you know, you're born as a smart person and then you develop your skills, and everybody is kind of like on a level playing field, but you're not. There's lots of societal structures at play that kind of impact your capacity to be a smart person. So you might be born with a level of intelligence, but whether you're able to actually do anything with that or develop it or, you know, use it to further your life / career is a completely different thing. So at least I think that's what this book is about. So yeah, I'm interested to read about that, because that's something that is of interest to me. So I'm excited about that one. Oh, the call number for that one is 305.552. The next one I picked up, I am very interested in. It's called Reading the Seasons, Books Holding Life and Friendship Together. And it's by Germaine, Leece and Sonya Tsakalakis. Am I saying that right? I'm not sure. So it says, Reading the Seasons charts the evolution of a friendship through candid letters between bibliotherapists, which, that's an interesting idea, being a bibliotherapist. I feel like that could be an interesting career move for me. I'll read the book and I'll see if it sounds like something I would like to do. Anyway, between these two people who wrote the book, ignited by a shared love of reading, of finding a book for every occasion, every emotion, both for themselves and for their clients, their conversation quickly turns to confront life's ups and downs, with references ranging from Stephen King to Javier Marias. I'm not sure if I've said that correctly. Helen Garner to Maggie O'Farrell. Germaine and Sonya reflect upon loss, change, parenting, careers, simple pleasures, travel, successes, fears, and uncertainty. Reading the Seasons not only offers a broad reading list, but affirms the power of books to comfort, console, heal, and hold us together as friends and as individuals. So that sounds really good. So very excited about that one. Call number 028.8. This one is the Poetry Toolkit for Readers and Writers, and it is by, it doesn't actually say on the front, William Harmon. Oh, it does. It says it right there. For some reason, though, I read that as the publisher, but it's not. The publisher's right there, Wiley Blackwell. So the call number for this one is 808.1, and this is just basically a toolkit of, like, understanding poetry and also writing poetry, and kind of like what poetry's all about. So I thought I'd pick that one up. And the last of the non-fiction is this one, Vida, A Woman for Our Time by Jacqueline Kent. So Vida Goldstein is a woman who lived in Australia some time ago. Doesn't say on the back what her time period was. Oh, it's signed. That's exciting. What a find. Right. Is it going to tell me how old she is? Okay, well, the introduction says Melbourne 1912, so that kind of gives an idea of the time period. So it says, blazing her trail at the dawn of the 20th century, Vida Goldstein remains Australia's most celebrated crusader for the rights of women. Her life as a campaigner for the suffrage in Australia, Britain and America, an advocate for peace, a fighter for social equality and a shrewd political commentator marks her as one of Australia's foremost women of courage and principle. So that's who she is, and I'm interested to read her biography. Okay, let's move on to fiction. And this is quite a hefty little pile. Big pile, little pile. Can I show it? No. No, I can't. I'm just going to show you the books. Starting with a very tiny one. It's so little. The Lady in the Van by Alan Bennett. There he is on the back. Now, I believe that this is there's a film with... Who plays the lady? What's her last name? Maggie Smith. I'm pretty sure Maggie Smith plays the lady. And so I had heard about the movie, and that it was based on a book, but I didn't realise it was a tiny book. So I found it, and I was like, well, I'm going to get that. First published in 1989, so that's interesting. I didn't tell you anything about the book. I believe it's about a lady that lives in a van. I'm pretty sure that's basically all I know. I think she's a bit of a character. And it looks like the book is written as like kind of like diary entries. Like it says like December 1974, for example. So yeah, that's that one. Another book I picked up is this one, The Women in Black by Madeleine St. John. Dusty. That's how long these books have been sitting here. They're gathering dust. So this is text classics. So these, I believe, are, I want to say, Australian texts, like classic books. The introduction is by Bruce Beresford, who is an Australian film director. So, anyway. Oh, okay. So he made a film called Ladies in Black, which is based on this book. So that's why he's doing the introduction. That makes more sense. I don't really know anything about the story itself, but I picked this up because it's one of these text classics. So it says, at the very end of the ladies' frocks departments, past cocktail frocks, there was something very special, something quite wonderful, but it wasn't for everybody. That was the point, because there, at the very end, there was a lovely arch on which was written in curly letters, model gowns. In the famous F.G. Good department store, Lisa is the new sales assistant, temporary, in ladies' cocktail frocks. She is about to meet Magda, the glamorous continental refugee and guardian of the rose-pink cave of model gowns. Oh. I think I've seen clips of this. Is it a movie? I guess it's a movie. I don't know. Like recently, like I'm sure okay, I don't know. Okay, let's move on. I picked up this really cool copy of The Stranger by Albert Camus. I don't actually know if I already have a copy of this. If so, I'll get rid of it and keep this one because this one's really cool. It says winner of the Nobel Prize in Literature, so that's interesting. But it's a classic, and I've just remembered we don't talk about classics. Like, I don't tell you the plot of a classic because it's very easy to find that information. But yeah, it's translated by Matthew Ward from the French, and yeah, he got the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1957. Albert Camus. Okay. A lot of yellow in this haul. I picked up a copy of The Bees by Laline Paull. Now, Laline Paull had a book in the Women's Prize long list, which I also have a copy of up here, and I need to poke something up there. I can't see the title of it is. Hold on. Pod is what it's called. Pod. Sorry, there's a toy sitting on top with dangling legs over and it's covering the title. Anyway, Pod was in the Women's Prize last year, I believe, and I picked it up. I haven't read it yet, but I've heard really good things about The Bees, and I think potentially, yeah, this was also shortlisted, and this was in 2015, so this is her second time. That was her second time being in, and I think maybe that Pod was shortlisted also. I can't recall. Anyway, but I've just realised that that's not actually part of the cover, these little black dots. I'm going to have to give that a wipe down. Anyway, The Bees. So I've heard really good things about this one. It says, Flora 717 is a survivor, born into the lowest class of the totalitarian hive society. She is prepared to sacrifice everything for the Queen, surviving internal massacres, religious purges, and terrifying invasions by vicious wasps. With each act of bravery, her status grows, revealing both enemies within and the sinister secrets that rule the hive. But when her instinct to serve is overwhelmed by a fierce and deeply forbidden maternal love, she breaks the most sacred law of all. Sounds super interesting. I picked up August Blue by Deborah Levy. This was a good find, I feel, secondhand. On the back, it just has this small amount of text. I'll read it to you. I know all about you, she said. What do you know? You were a famous pianist, and then you lost it. Yes. Her words were like a handful of stones thrown at a window. At the height of her career, concert pianist Elsa M. Anderson, former child prodigy, now in her 30s, walks off the stage in Vienna mid-performance. Now she is in Athens, watching as another young woman, a stranger but uncannily familiar, almost her double, purchases a pair of mechanical dancing horses at a flea market. Okay. Elsa wants the horses too, but there are no more for sale. She drifts to the ferry port on the run from her talent and her history. So begins a journey across Europe, shadowed by the elusive woman who bought the dancing horses. A dazzling portrait of melancholy and metamorphosis, August Blue uncovers the ways in which we seek to lose an old story, find ourselves in others, and create ourselves anew. So that's August Blue. Excited about that one. Another book that was I'm going to say Women's Prize, I'm pretty sure. Last year. Oh, so maybe Pod was the year before. Anyway, this is The Maiden by Kate Foster. This was one that people didn't love, if I recall. It had very mixed reviews, and potentially it's because it was a historical fiction. I don't know. So it says Edinburgh, October 1679. Lady Christian is arrested and charged with the murder of her lover, James Forrester. News of her imprisonment and subsequent trial is splashed across the broadsides with headlines that leave little room for doubt. Adulteress, whore, murderess. Only a year before, Lady Christian was newly married, living a life of privilege and respectability. So what led her to risk everything for an affair? And does that make her guilty of murder? She wasn't the only woman in Forrester's life, and certainly not the only one who might have had cause to wish him dead. Inspired by a real-life case, The Maiden is a remarkable story with a feminist revisionist twist, giving a voice to women otherwise silenced by history. So that's The Maiden. Okay. The next book that I picked up was The Hotel Avocado by Bob Mortimer, another yellow book. I just really like Bob Mortimer's. I've seen him on a couple of the British panel comedy shows, and he's hilarious. So his storytelling is hilarious. So I feel like he would be a good fiction writer as well. So it says, Gary Thorne is struggling with a big decision. Should he stay in London, wallowing in the safety of his legal job in Peckham and eating pies with his next-door neighbour Grace and her dog Lassou, or should he move to Brighton where his girlfriend Emily is about to open the Hotel Avocado? Either way, he'd be letting someone down. But sinister forces are gathering in a cloud of laundrette-scented vape smoke, and the arrival of the mysterious Mr. Sequence puts Gary in an even worse predicament. Soon he might be dead. All Gary wants is a happy life, but he also wants to be alive to enjoy it. So that sounds interesting. But yeah, literally that is an author buy, because I just really love Bob Mortimer. I think his storytelling is hilarious. Okay, I'm a bit nervous about this pile, so I'm just shuffling things around a little bit here to make sure we don't have a disastrous collapse. Okay, this was another exciting find because this has been on my wish list for a really long time. Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir, who also wrote The Martian. I'm less interested in reading The Martian, but I've heard that this one is really, really good. So it says, a lone astronaut, an impossible mission, an ally he never imagined. Ryland Grace is the sole survivor on a desperate last chance mission, and if he fails, humanity and the Earth itself will perish. Except that right now he doesn't know that. He can't even remember his own name, let alone the nature of his assignment or how to complete it. All he knows is that he's been asleep for a very, very long time, and he's just been awakened to find himself millions of miles from home, with nothing but two corpses for company. His crewmate's dead, his memories fuzzily returning. Ryland realizes that an impossible task now confronts him. Hurtling through space on this tiny ship, it is up to him to puzzle out an impossible scientific mystery and conquer an extinction-level threat to our species. And with the clock ticking down and the nearest human being light years away, he has to do it all alone. Or does he? So yeah. I'm not a massive sci-fi reader either, so I just feel like I've just heard really good things about this and I want to give it a go. So yeah, excited to find that and to be able to take it off my wish list. Another yellow book, also another bee-themed book, The Bee Sting by Paul Murray. I guess that's why we've got yellow and black on those two books that are about bees. The Bee Sting by Paul Murray. This won, I want to say, the Booker Prize. It says it's shortlisted for the Booker Prize 2023, but I feel like it won. Maybe I'm wrong. Nothing there. Here we go. The Barnes family is in trouble. Dickie's once lucrative car business is going under, but rather than face the music, he's spending his days in the woods building an apocalypse-proof bunker with a renegade handyman. His wife Imelda is selling off her jewellery on eBay and half-heartedly dodging the attentions of fast-talking cattle farmer Big Mike, while their teenage daughter Cass, formerly top of her class, seems determined to binge drink her way to her final exams. And 12-year-old PJ, in debt to local sociopath Ears Moran, is putting the final touches to his grand plan to run away from home. Okay, this sounds actually really funny. I don't know if it's funny, but it sounds funny. The present is in meltdown, but the causes lie deep in the past. If you wanted to change this story, how far back would you have to go? To the day Dickie hired a handsome drifter to help him out in the garage, to the car crash 12 months before Cass was born, to the infamous bee sting which ruined Imelda's wedding day. all the way back to Dickie at 10 years old, trembling before his father in the garden, learning how to be a real man. Is it possible that a single moment of bad luck sets in motion everything that came after? And does that mean the Barnes' fate is already sealed? The family is facing a reckoning. If they can't change the past or rewrite the story they have already lived, is it too late for a happy ending? That sounds really good. And I've got it, so I can read it whenever I want. This is a book that everybody has been talking about, and it's also yellow. Glorious Exploits by Ferdia Lennon. So I was excited to find a secondhand copy of this one. So this is, it's 412 BC, and Athens' invasion of Sicily has failed catastrophically. Thousands of Athenian soldiers are held captive in the quarries of Syracuse, starving, dejected, and hanging on by the slimmest of threads. Lampo and Gelon are local potters, young men with no work and barely 2 obols to rub together. When they take to visiting the nearby quarry, they discover prisoners who will, in desperation, recite lines from the plays of Euripides for scraps of bread and a scattering of olives. And so an idea is born. The men will put on Medea in the quarry, a proper performance to be sung of down the ages, because after all, you can hate the Athenians for invading your territory, but still love their poetry. But as the audacity of their enterprise dawns on them, it becomes increasingly difficult to distinguish between enemies and friends. As the performance draws near, the men will find their courage tested in ways they could never have imagined. So that's Glorious Exploits, the last of the yellow books. 2 more to go. Sparrow by James Hines. This is one that has been on my wish list for a while as well. I can't remember where I heard about it, but I'm sure it was on BookTube. Yeah, no, I can't remember who I heard it from. Anyway, raised in a brothel at the edge of a dying empire, a boy of no known origin creates his own identity. He is Sparrow, who sings without reason and can fly from trouble. His world is a kitchen, a herb-scented garden, a loud and dangerous tavern, and the mysterious upstairs where the prostitutes, slaves from every corner of the empire, conduct their business. He spends his days listening to stories told by his beloved mother, Euterpe, E-U-T-E-R-P-E, Euterpe? Maybe. Running errands for her lover the cook, dodging the blows of their brutal overseer, and the machinations of the senior prostitute, Melpomene. A hard fate awaits Sparrow, one that involves suffering, murder, mayhem, and the scattering of the women who have been his whole world. In this unforgettable novel, James Hines brings the ancient Roman city of Carthago Nova to vivid, brutal life. As we walk through lost places and hear forgotten voices, Sparrow reminds us of how a great and glorious empire was built on the backs of slaves like him. His story belongs to one of the most powerfully affecting and memorable characters of recent fiction. This is Sparrow. Sounds good. And the last book that I picked up is another one that has been on my wish list for a long time, and I can't remember where I heard about it as well. So this was a good month of finding books that have been on my wish list for a while. This is Other People's Houses by Hilary McPhee. And this one says, oh, hang on a minute, is this non-fiction also? Maybe. It is, it's a memoir. Dang. This should have been with my non-fiction, but I didn't realise it was non-fiction. Okay, it says, in Other People's Houses, publishing legend Hilary McPhee exchanges one hemisphere for another. Fleeing the aftermath of a failed marriage, McPhee embarks on a writing project in the Middle East for a member of the Hashemite royal family, a man she greatly respects. There she finds herself faced with different kinds of exile, new kinds of banishment. From apartments in Cortona and Amman, and an attic in London, McPhee watches other women managing magnificently alone as she flounders through the mire of extreme loneliness. Other People's Houses is a brutally honest memoir, funny, sad, full of insights into worlds to which she was given privileged access, and of the friendships that sustained her. And ultimately, of course, it is a story of returning home, of picking up the pieces and facing the music as her house and her life take on new shapes. Dang, that missed opportunity for me to tell you the call number for this one. I'll have to look it up afterwards. Alright, so that's the last one. So that is my haul for February. I've got a March stack waiting for me to film as well. So let's see how long the energy kind of lasts. But I'm feeling good. So hopefully this has been watchable. Thanks for being here. And I will catch you on the next one. Bye.